Okay, so in this video, we're going to look at how to make a simple little tank bot, something that maybe you'd see in a tower defense game. We're going to make this using a combination of Paint 3D and 3D Builder. They are both available, free to use with Windows 10. If your computer does not have them, they're available from the Windows Store. So let's get right into it. So let's go over to 3D Builder, new scene, and we're going to start by making the main body of the tank bot. So let's click on Sphere. Because again, we're going for something stylized. We don't want it to be angular like a real tank. Going for something a little more cartoonish. So what we're going to do is we're going to hollow this out and then slice it up because the top is going to open up to make room for the turret. So let's go to Edit, and we go to Hollow. And you can see the thickness of the border. So let's click on Hollow. And now we're going to splice this up a couple ways. We're going to separate the top from the bottom, and then we're going to split the top in half again. That way it can open up for the turret. So split. Keep both because we want the top and the bottom. Split. Deselect all. And now we're going to click on the top. I'm going to split the top. Rotate the split. Should snap at 90. If not, you can click here and enter it. Again, we want to keep both. And even though both are selected, we can actually, we'll use that to our advantage because that way we can move them up vertically and have them be lined up exactly. Now deselect all and just move these left and right to make room for the turret. Depending on the size of the object, you might have to exaggerate the space a little bit more. Now let's make a space for the turret. What we're going to do is, well, we have a space, but we're going to carve out the corners here so they'll be circular. So we're going to use the subtract tool. Subtract tool works like a cookie cutter, and that is use one shape to carve out another. Differences with a cookie cutter, you're usually keeping what you're carving out. With the subtract tool, you're discarding what's being cut out. So we're going to carve out these corners for room for the turret. So insert, and we're going to use a cylinder since ultimately you're going to use another cylinder for the turret. Let's rotate this 90 degrees. Should snap. If not, again, you can just type there. Let's scale this in. We don't want to scale, since clicking on the corner scales all directions, you don't want to do that too much. So we're now going to use the arrows to get us the rest of the way. And for something like this, it doesn't have to be exactly round because it's not a wheel, but it should be close. We don't want it to look wrong. Left click, hold the mouse, and move the mouse to rotate around. And let's just expand this out a little bit more because if you're going to take the time to carve out an area for the turret, you want to make sure that your effort is noticed. Okay, that looks good. So what we do, we now click on Edit, and we click on Subtract. And there you go, it carved out the front, so now you have room for the turret. You could have just duplicated that object for the turret, but it's easy enough to replicate. So insert, cylinder. Again, we're going to rotate this. Snap at 90. And let's scale this in all directions at first. Move this up. And then manually do the rest. Actually, let's move this forward. And again, I'm kind of breezing through it, but this is move, this is rotate, this is scale. Okay, so that, like I was saying, scaled all directions. That's really too much. We don't want it to be that short of a turret. So let's scale that out. And again, the rest we'll do using the arrows. That way it doesn't change the length. Okay, there you go. So now you have a nice little area carved out for your turret. Okay. Now it's possible that you think these are too high, so you could lower everything if you wanted. So you could click on Sticky Select, click on all three, and then move them down together. Now this is intersecting here, so if you don't want that, oops, sorry about that. So if you don't want that, we can just resize the turret. So deselect all and get rid of sticky select as well. And we'll just scale in the turret a little bit more, which also gives us the benefit of making that surrounding area a little more obvious too. There we go. Again, it's really arbitrary. You could carve out the bottom too if you wanted it, but it's clearing now. And now that lets us close this in a tiny bit. There we go. All right, I think that's pretty good. So now this turret, let's bring this out a little bit more. So we're going to click on it. We're using the move tool. And we're going to put a wider part at the end. But since a turret should be hollow, you could hollow this out first if you want. It really won't be evident, so it creates more facings and could, depending how many of these are on the screen, if you're using this for a game, could create unnecessary processing. So we're not going to make this hollow, but the end will be hollow. So let's click on Object, and we'll click on Duplicate. And what we're going to do is we're going to scale this in, but then we'll scale it back out using the corners. We're going to hollow this out and then slice it. So edit, hollow, whatever thickness looks right to you, hollow, split, rotate the plane, again, 90 degrees. In this case, as I said, sometimes it doesn't want to snap. There we go. And let's keep the top. There we go. And split. So now you have this hollow front. And we'll just move that onto the front of your turret. It's a little bit big, so you can just scale this in. And again, whatever looks right to you. So now you just have a simple little like Tankbot, torrent bot. Just doesn't have any way to move around. So what we can do is we could add, say, treads like you'd see on a tank. So there are a couple ways you can go about making the treads for our tank bot. You can either say go into Paint 3D and like manually draw out the shape, or you can take a pre-existing shape and just chisel away at it, carve away at it, and sculpt it into looking like the shape that you want. So we're going to do the latter. So let's click on Insert Cube. Let's slide this over, and then left-click mouse and move the mouse to rotate. So what we're going to do, we're going to put at an angle the side here, and then a much steeper at the bottom because the top of the treads are wider than the bottom, at least in some models. So all depends exactly what you're looking for. So let's go to Edit, Split. We want to keep bottom only. We'll click on Rotate, and we'll rotate this, say, let's see how 25 looks, and we'll accept. Click on the Move tool, and since you can do a number for both of these, make sure that you actually have the right tool, because I've made a few mistakes where I was trying to change the rotation, but I was on the Move tool, and I changed the position. So make sure you've got this on the right tool if you're manually putting in numbers. So let's grab that plane and do that. And I don't think that's quite sharp enough. So let's click on the Rotate tool, and let's see how 35 looks. I think that looks better. So it's at a 35 degree, and it's at, let's make this an even negative 23 millimeters. That way we can get this as precise as possible on the other side. And so we said it's, 35 and negative 23. So split. And now the same thing again. So split, rotate, but this time it would be positive 35. Actually, let's start the rotation first so it knows what angle. All right, so negative 35. And now for position, move the plane, and I think we said 22. There we go. So that looks good. Split. And then you're going to want part of a straight part, and then the slant should come in. I think we can use the same angle, we just have to cut a greater part off. So let's, again, go split. And this time we're going to keep top. And let's rotate this so it knows what axis we're talking about. And we'll do negative 35. And grab the plane. Because you don't want, actually we're going to have to use a different angle because the bottoms would intersect and you'd have a point. So yeah, that's not good. So let's make this negative 20. Sorry, wrong way. Negative 50. That's better. So let's grab that plane. And let's make the position 14 even. And so what's going to happen is we're going to do the same thing on this side, and it will come down, and then we'll flatten off the bottom. So again, it is 14 position and 50, negative 50. 14 and negative 50. Split. And 50. And 14. So see what I was saying about the point? So we're still going to have to cut part of the bottom anyways. And we do split, and then one last one. And I'll probably shrink this vertically. But you want the bottom narrower than the top. And split one last time. Okay, great. So there's our tread, kind of. We'll scale this down. And now we'll hollow. And tread shouldn't be very wide. Or should I say very thick? Make it a little bit thicker, though. Hollow. And then again, split. So let's rotate this. Snaps at -90. Let's do keep top. And split. Now your choice. Since this is now hollow, you can either split the back side as well, so you could take this side off as well, or you could leave it like this and just put your wheels in here. So we'll scale this in. Move this down. Move this over. Object, copy, paste. Slide it over, but needs to be rotated. Didn't want to snap at 180, so we'll just manually type that in. And there you go. You have a basic little stylized Tankbot or turret bot. I think I have everything selected. And I'll just raise up, not quite. Still not quite. There we go. And now you have a little Tankbot. So again, you can slice the other side so the treads can be seen through, and you can just put a few cylinders in there for the wheels inside of the treads. But I think that's about it. I don't want to get too into this. I think this gets you basically where you'd want to be. And again, this is stylized, so you're doing like maybe you're doing like a tower defense, like Plants vs. Zombies, but you're using like drones, that kind of thing. So it's kind of cartoonish, not meant to be hard edge or realistic. All right, I think that should do it for this one. If you want to see more, please just let me know.